Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into the absolute ultimate guide to cultivating one of the most breathtaking plants you could ever add to your landscape. If you've ever stood beneath a canopy of cascading, intensely fragrant purple flowers, well, you know exactly why we're dedicating this entire explainer to this magnificent vine. Unlock the secrets to growing your enchanting garden of Wisteria. Watch till the end to transform any space into a floral paradise. Seriously, we're going to cover absolutely everything you need to know today. Whether you're a total beginner looking to plant your very first vine, or, a seasoned enthusiast wanting to really maximize those glorious spring blooms, we've got you covered. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with a quick introduction to Wisteria, move right into planning and planting, cover the crucial care and maintenance, tackle troubleshooting common problems, look at design and aesthetics, and finally wrap up with our conclusion and a quick disclaimer. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Introduction to Wisteria, or as I like to call it, the dream. So what exactly is Wisteria? Well, it's a phenomenal climbing legume. And actually, the fact that it's in the pea family or Fabaceae is a really fascinating and super important detail about its biology. We'll come back to that later when we talk about fertilizer. But basically, these vines are famously vigorous and incredibly long-lived. We're talking decades, and in some cases, well over a century. Over time, they transform from these soft little green shoots into gnarly, beautifully twisted woody vines that just get absolutely loaded with those iconic, pendulous racemes of fragrant flowers. Now, when you're selecting a plant, you're most often going to choose between the two main types, Chinese Wisteria and Japanese Wisteria. To tell the two apart, you can actually use this brilliant little finger mnemonic from horticultural experts. Try this with me right now. Form a C with your finger starting at the top. This clockwise movement describes exactly how Chinese Wisteria twines around its support. Now, make a J starting from the top, moving in a counterclockwise direction. Yep, that's exactly how Japanese Wisteria twines. Oh, and another great way to identify them? Chinese Wisteria usually pushes out its blooms all at once on bare wood before the leaves even emerge, whereas the Japanese variety flowers in sequence, right alongside its fresh green foliage. Moving right along to Section 2, Planning and Planting. This is really the foundation of your Wisteria journey. Okay, so because Wisteria grows so vigorously and gets incredibly heavy over time, installing a heavy-duty, permanent support structure at planting is absolutely non-negotiable. I'm talking steel wire or thick timber. If you try to train it on some flimsy trellis later on, you're in for a really frustrating time. The sheer weight of a mature, woody vine can and will crush light trellises or weak pergolas like toothpicks. When you're actually ready to plant, ideally in early spring or fall, by the way, make sure you follow these exact steps to ensure your vine builds a strong, deep root system right off the bat in its first season. First, pick a spot with at least 6 hours of full sun for the best blooms. Then, dig your hole 1.5 to 2 times wider than the root ball. Carefully loosen up any of those tightly circling roots, set the plant at the exact same depth it was in its nursery container, backfill with your native soil, and water it deeply. Hitting these steps guarantees a robust root system that will support your plant for literally decades to come. Now, here's a crucial number you need to know to manage your expectations. 15. Yep, it can take up to 15 years to see a single bloom if you try to grow Wisteria from seed. Honestly, that's a massive generational wait just for a flower. But don't worry, this timeline clearly shows why propagating from softwood cuttings or ground layering is just the vastly superior method if you actually want to enjoy those gorgeous flowers in a reasonable time frame. Check this out. If you take a softwood cutting in June or July, it'll root in about 6 to 8 weeks. From there, you're only looking at 3 to 5 years until your very first blooms. Compared to a decade-plus wait from a seed, taking cuttings or simply buying a grafted nursery plant is absolutely the way to go. All right, on to Section 3, Care and Maintenance. This is where the real work happens. So what's the absolute secret to getting a Wisteria to flower profusely rather than just growing into an endless jungle of leaves? It's strict, twice-a-year pruning. No way around it. In the summer, usually around August, you'll want to take those long, whippy green shoots and cut them back to about 5 or 6 leaves. This physically stops the plant from throwing all its energy into aggressive growth and redirects it into forming flower buds instead. Then, in late winter, around February, you come back and prune those exact same shoots down to just 2.5 centimeters from their base. Beyond that strict pruning schedule, Wisteria care is actually pretty straightforward. They demand full sun and well-drained soil. You'll want to water them deeply but less frequently just to encourage a nice, robust root system.
And hey, remember earlier when I said being in the pea family was important? Because Wisteria is a legume, it pulls its own nitrogen right out of the thin air. This means you should actively avoid high nitrogen fertilizers. If you feed it too much nitrogen, the plant is going to prioritize massive leafy growth over those stunning blooms, and we definitely don't want that.
Let's move into section 4, troubleshooting common problems. Every gardener faces obstacles, right? Why isn't my wisteria blooming? If you find yourself asking this incredibly frustrating question, it almost always boils down to 3 culprits. Usually, it's a lack of sunlight. Remember, we need at least 6 hours of direct sun. Or it's improper pruning. If you skip that summer and winter chop we just talked about, you're going to get leaves, not flowers. And lastly, you simply might not be waiting long enough for the vine to mature, especially if it was grown from seed instead of a cutting. You also need to be fiercely vigilant against pests like aphids and longhorned wood borers, which can cause canker diseases. But here is a massive safety warning you cannot ignore. After flowering, wisteria produces these velvety, bean-like green seed pods. While they look kind of cool, they are highly poisonous if ingested by children or pets, so keep an eye out for that. Also, wisteria is incredibly strong. If left unchecked near forest edges or other trees, it can literally strangle and topple mature trees. That's exactly why it's considered invasive in some regions. Keep it confined to its designated sturdy support for sure. Okay, section 5, design and aesthetics. This is the fun part, the reward for all your hard work. Wisteria just offers unmatched versatility in landscape design. You can train it to drape so dramatically over a heavy gazebo or pergola, creating this magical living roof of flowers. You can even meticulously prune a single-stemmed plant into a freestanding, weeping lollipop tree form in a large container. Or you can play around with some absolutely stunning cultivars. For example, a variety called Jaco produces highly fragrant, pure white blooms that look almost ghostly at twilight. It's wild. Another classic is Amethyst, which bursts with rosy, flushed blue mauve flowers that will absolutely perfume your entire patio. And that brings us to section 6, our conclusion and disclaimer. Are you ready to embrace the patience required to cultivate a century-old floral legacy in your own backyard? Because wisteria is not just a plant, it is truly a generational garden investment. Yes, it demands heavy supports, precise pruning twice a year, and honestly, a good deal of patience. But the reward? It's a breathtaking display that gets better and better with every passing decade. So, looking around your yard right now, what structure are you going to transform first? Before we go, please remember to review our informational disclaimer on screen. This explainer is for informational purposes only. Wisteria is a living thing, and your specific climate, soil, and, your dedication to pruning will ultimately dictate your success. Thank you so much for joining me today to unlock the secrets of this incredible plant, and happy gardening.